is, I just think you ain't got a taste for this exquisite shit. My verses are like Leviticus to the underprivileged. I make music for the world, you make music for a stripper bitch. Nick Black leather, parade cap era, guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Never been a victim, a rebel against the system. Lames wanna diss them and women just wanna kiss them. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. It's that God flow, what they nailed Jesus to the cross for. And he came back 3 days after he died flow. This Pablo, talking to kids in Chicago, mob flow. This that midget New Jersey drive flow. Side note, I wrote this rap with my eyes closed, bravo. Cause it came out clean as the Moss flow, Costco. Hoes selling they twat for a car note. Benny Hunters and Roscoe, Picasso. Nas mixed with a pop flow. Rappers can't stand me. This that Grammy Nas flow. Let me stop though, cause I'm going digital with the syllables. Saw the press and the royalty like residual. These hoes for me, they supposed to be hospitable. When they in the house with a nigga that's not typical, this not fictional. I run this bitch like elliptical. Can another rapper come out of Atlanta if he not lyrical? Nigga, black leather, parade cap era, guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Never been a victim, a rebel against the system. Lames wanna diss them and women just wanna kiss them. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga.
This that shot right, where out of towners die at. I advise you book your flight now and fly back. Gangland, bang then, what you claim, fam? Box Chevys, foreigns, $150 flow. Young nigga got bitches at the 50 though. 50 pack done, good, drop off 50 more. My city rough, but I made it in it. Trap house look like it's what K's invented. Trust nobody, even friends, look, I hate up in it. Rhyme dirty with your bitch smoking, wait a minute. LA garage with Drill Illinois and Decatur in it. Nigga snitching, I'm like, way to win it. Nigga looking like a state defendant. Photo look like a two though. My two though look like a full though. I'm cutting up, call me dog bro. Hit him in his mask, get him a body bag. Give me a track, and I'ma body that.
What it do, what it do? Peace to the fam. How everybody doing today on this hot day? It's hot out here in Cali, at least it's 105 in my neck of the woods. Hopefully y'all don't have it as bad wherever y'all at. Yeah, man, it was brought to my attention by the brother Sean last night that Moors, a certain group or a certain sect of Moors will be or did have an episode of Vice within the last couple of days. So these were so-called sovereign citizen Moors, right? The specific sect is a group called the Rise of the Moors. Don't know if y'all heard of them. Don't know if y'all familiar with them. I'm very vaguely familiar with them, but I mean they ain't too different from a lot of these other sovereign, quote unquote, sovereign citizen Moors. So I haven't heard anybody talk about this. So it was something I just wanted to go live and press the issue on. And before I get started, please like the show. Please share the show. Share with every Moorish, quote unquote, Moorish American that you can find. Right? Even though not all Moors hold to these ideologies that we about to get into. Yeah, smoking on that more pack tonight. It's hot in Georgia. I already know it's hot in Georgia. It's hot and humid in Georgia. At least I got this 105 out here in this dry heat. Right. So let's get into it, man. But before I start the show too, I want to say shout out to Brother Ben, aka Black Panther, because he the one who pointed us in this direction. If you're familiar with Kofi Pasi TV, Kofi Pasi Research Team, and the Masi Warrior Clan, and you keep track of us, then you caught the conversation, the little mini conversation that we had about this. So shout out to Brother Ben, aka Black Panther, because he pointed us in this direction. I just did a little digging, minimal digging, just helping point y'all into that direction as well, and you can do more digging than I did, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. So, but yeah, man, share this with every Moorish American that you can find, bro. And we know these sovereign citizen Moors, right? We know that they use the paperwork. We know that they do the right to travel nonsense, and they don't believe that the laws apply to them, et cetera, right? We are familiar with. If you're familiar with Moors, you're familiar with these ideologies. So again, we going with the theme of all the source material being used will be in the description. It should be. So hate group expert Daniel Levitas discusses Passe Comitatus, Christian identity movement, and more. So I'm gonna break down what this is. I'm gonna read it to you, and then we're gonna get into the significance of it. Right, hate group expert Daniel Levitas spent 8 years in the Midwest researching and developing community responses to the Passe Comitatus, the Christian identity movement, and other hate groups. The Passe Comitatus and Christian identity movement, these are two separate movements, right? We'll get into it. The hate group expert Daniel Levitas spent 8 years in the Midwest researching and developing community responses to the Passe Comitatus, the Christian identity movement, and other hate groups attempting to recruit farmers and rural residents in the 1980s. He has worked with several research and watchdog organizations, served in expert witness in state and federal courts, and published extensively in his field. Levitas is the author of the forthcoming book on the Passe Comitatus, its history since the 1970s and the relationship to the current anti-government patriotic movement. The intelligence report interviewed Levitas about the roots of the militia movement and the history of the Passe. The interview started with an overview of the phases of the Passe Comitatus organizing history. So intelligence report is the actual reporter, right? So he asked him, can you describe the roots of the present day anti-government movement? And Levitas says, while the roots of the so-called Christian patriotic movement and the Passe Comitatus can be traced back to the 19th century and even earlier, the present trend really got its start nearly 30 years ago in the 1970s. The Passe Comitatus, which is Latin for power of the country, was originally founded by William Gale Potter in 1970. Make note of William Potter Gale, said his name backwards. Make note of William Potter Gale, because we will be getting back to him. That is the the man that is on the thumbnail. If you've seen the thumbnail for this video, that's who that is. But the movement did not gain significance until Gale was able to join his Christian identity beliefs, a racist ideology identifying Jews, a racist ideology identifying Jews as the literal progeny of Satan and blacks as subhuman. So off the rip, we understand that the Christian identity movement is a racist ideology. They think Jews are Satan. They think blacks are less than human. The first phase, when Gale developed all these theories about citizens' government and the posse comitatus, was in the early to mid 1970s. In reality, Gale's ideas were really nothing more than verbal flourishes used to disguise old fashioned vigilantism. The second phase started in the late 1970s when Gale and his allies were able to take advantage of the agricultural crisis brewing in rural America and use it to disseminate posse ideology throughout the Farm Belt. The third phase was after the posse really came into the public view in 1983 with the killing of two federal marshals. So this posse comitatus movement or this group became popularized nationally in 1983 for killing two federal marshals. So they killing 12 now at this point. By Gordon Call in North Dakota. After that, everybody knew that the posse was trouble with a capital T. The negative publicity it got, combined with the aggressive state and federal prosecutions, dealt a significant blow to the posse recruitment. At this same time, you also had a whole series of liberal groups spring up whose goal was to organize farmers in a positive way to combat the economic crisis and to dispel the notion that there was an internal Jewish banking conspiracy behind the farm crisis, as Posse argued. Gale died on April 28, 1988. Coincidentally, by the next year or so, both the Posse and the liberal farm groups had largely collapsed. Farm foreclosures had continued, and hundreds of thousands of farmers had been driven off the land throughout the 1980s. There were fewer farmers to organize. And the reporter asked, how was all this related to the current anti-government movement? If you look at the philosophy of today's militia, common law courts, and country supremacy and county supremacy movement, it is absolutely inseparable from the original concept set forth by Gale almost 30 years ago. What the posse has done to survive between then and now has been to be very flexible and to interject those ideas wherever social conditions exist and use those conditions opportunistically. The reporter asks, please trace the development of the posse and its antecedents in some more detail, right? So Le-Batard says there have always been tax protesters in the United States going back to before the Declaration of Independence. But the right-wing tax protest movement didn't really take off until the 1930s, largely as a conservative reaction to President Roosevelt and the Democrats. It was a movement that was laced in anti-Semitism and beliefs about Jewish banking conspiracies, but by and large, it lacked the hard edge of the Christian identity that Gale eventually gave it. Gale published his first Posse manifesto in 1971, recommending the organization of local posse groups throughout the United States and declaring the county sheriff was the only legal law enforcement officer. Gale and the posse pioneered so-called common law court methodology in indicting people in Oregon, Idaho, and elsewhere using citizens' grand juries. The first known case of a citizens' grand jury issuing a written threat was in 1972 in conflict between a tax protester named George Kendrick and state revenue authorities in Ingham County, Michigan. A posse group there used a notice threatening the local sheriff and law enforcement agents and law enforcement authorities for their enforcement of a state tax order. So they not only busting at the laws, they threatening the laws. Like, this is clearly an anti-government movement. Not to mention is a white supremacist movement, right? Let's keep going. So the reporter asked, how did the movement grow from there? When Gale first developed the posse, he was based in Mariposa County in Southern California. From there, the posse spread up from the west through Oregon into the Pacific Northwest. By 1974, there were chapters in place like Bonner County, Idaho, and Grays Harbor County, and Spokane in Washington. A lot of these early chapters were not founded were not formed by Gale followers, but by people using paperwork designed by Henry Lamont, uh, Mike Beach in Portland, who plagiarized Gale's writing. The posse gained its first foothold in Wisconsin in 1974. The individual behind that, Thomas Stockheimer, organized a group of posse followers that August to eventually or to essentially abduct an IRS agent. They lured to a farm, so yeah, they kidnapping IRS agents also. They held him for several hours, assaulted him. A month later, Stockheimer organized nearly 100 supporters to disrupt a hearing of the State Department of Natural Resources in Eau Claire. I hope I said that shit right. In 1975, a posse group indicted DuPage County, Illinois, judge who found a member of the group in contempt of court during a divorce hearing. On September the 2nd of that same year, a local posse group in San Joaquin, California, brought in 40 armed men in an attempt to stop United Farm Workers Organization from entering one of its members' tomato fields. Guns were drawn. One shotgun was accidentally discharged. It was a miracle no one was shot. In March of that year, Richard Butler, the early church identity preacher who had started and whatever it is, county out Idaho posse unit, now leads the neo-Nazi Aryan Nation. So now we see other white supremacy groups being connected. And this dude helped lead 50 posse members in an unsuccessful attempt to arrest a city policeman in wherever that's at. The police officer was about to testify against a posse member who was accused of assault with a deadly weapon. Then on August 27, 1976, near the eastern Oregon town of Stansfield, 7 posse members armed with guns and dogs tried to take over a 6,000-acre wheat and potato farm to settle a land dispute. Now you see these land disputes. Sound familiar? What the posse did in these early years was to take the issue of land use regulation and taxes, as well as members' personal problems such as divorce, and use them to mobilize people in confrontations. This may all seem mild compared to the Oklahoma City bombing, but it signaled that radical right. It signaled that the radical right was arming itself for a violent confrontation. Now, I'm not gonna read all this because it'll give away some shit anyway. But this source is in the chat. And what I want you to get from that is the Passe Comitatus is a white supremacy group. They are a white supremacy group who have very similar, strangely similar uh, ideologies to these sovereign Moors. You see the land disputes, right? You see the issues with not wanting to pay taxes, right? But you also see something that you ain't really seeing from these Moorish groups like that, and that is busting at the police and all that. Essentially, this group is an anti-government movement um, with white supremacist ideologies mixed in, but the main focus is anti-government, right? So we talked about the passe, right? And it also mentioned the Christian identity movement. It mentioned that briefly. So let me give you a simple definition. And then, like I said, this is just surface level. All I'm doing is giving you this surface level information for you to go back and check out all this shit for yourself, right? The Christian identity movement is a North American new religious movement characterized by a belief in white supremacy and anti-Semitism, exactly like the passe, right? The followers of this movement believe that the covenant recounted in the Bible was actually made between God and the Anglo Saxons and other European peoples who are the real 10 lost tribes of Israel. So these are the white Israelites. Christian identity or the Christian identity movement are the white Israelites. They are a white supremacy group, just like one could call black Israelites a black supremacy group. This is the white Israelites, and they are a white supremacy group, right? They said they the real 10 lost tribes, the white folks. Christian identity characterizes Jews as the offspring of Eve and Satan, and views people of African descent as subhuman. And we also seen this with the passe. So these are two organizations who are deeply rooted in white supremacy, though it has been largely unsuccessful in persuading white Israelites of their purported identity. Small churches are active mainly in the Northwest United States. The movement proselytizes through publications, recordings, and the internet. So a very brief breakdown of Christian identity or the Christian identity movement, right? Put a one in the chat if you ever heard of any of these two groups. Put a two in the chat if you have never heard of either one of these groups before. I'm just curious. I'll give y'all a minute. Put a one in the chat if you've heard of either one of these groups before. If you've never heard of the Christian identity movement or Passe Comitatus, put a two in the chat. All right, everything is everything. Teddy, you ain't never heard of it, okay? I just feel like I'm this is something that I've never heard nobody talk about. Like I said, except for Brother Ben. All right, Sean, you heard of Christian identity. See, I haven't before this. I haven't never heard of Christian identity movement either. Never heard of any one of these. So, Juju, which one you've heard of? Both of them, or which one? Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna let this play. I'm gonna let this video on Christian identity play for a second. Hold on, let me play the disclaimer. This is strictly for educational purposes, YouTube. All right, so this is, let me see how long this is. It's 28 minutes, so I'm not gonna play all of this, y'all. I'll play some of it, unless y'all want me to keep going with it. But I mean, it ain't too exciting. But it's telling you about the Christian identity movement a little deeper. So let's get into it.
In the heart of North Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discuss their topics on our forum, the North Idaho College Public Forum, with your host and moderator, political scientist, Tony Stewart.
I'm very pleased to welcome you to our program today. We have a very important and serious topic to discuss with you. Our topic is dealing with a look at the Christian identity movement, a study of extreme racism. In order to address this topic, we've invited 3 guests to our program, all of them highly qualified to address what is, in the interpretation of our guest, true Christianity versus an extreme doctrine that violates certain tenets of Christianity. I welcome to the program, first of all, Norm Gissel, who is an attorney in the state of Idaho. Mr. Gissel has a very long history of working in civil rights law and human rights organizations. He is the former president of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations. Norm, you've been on the program before on a number of occasions. It's great to have you back.
Thank you very much for inviting me once again.
I'm equally pleased to also invite Father Roger LaChance, who is the pastor of St. Pius X Catholic Church in Coeur d'Alene. And Father LaChance has worked with us on a number of occasions in our work and in our lecture series. And Father, I'd like to say to you that last year when you, in our Chautauqua performance, performed as Pope John the 23rd, I was moved by your presentation. It was excellent. Thank you for being here tonight. And I'm equally pleased to also invite to the program Reverend Mike Bullard. He is the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Coeur d'Alene, and Reverend Bullard and I have worked on a number of occasions and activities. He's also a former board member of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations. Welcome to our program. We're so pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
And as we're moving into our new year, I'm so pleased to have both of our regular panelists back. First of all, it's Janelle Burke, who is an attorney in the state of Idaho. And Janelle, you're starting either your 24th or 25th year with us on the program. I believe it's number 25.
It's a pleasure to be here, Tony.
It's great to have you here, and equally pleased to have Steve Shink, who is the vice president.
What is meant by the Christian identity movement?
I'd like to do so, and I'd like to start off with prefacing this, that I'm going to address it essentially in a secular and a political way. The religious experts, I'm going to defer to them in a more intimate religious context of what that means. Christian identity came to the United States sometime after the 1880s. It was popularized by a book written in England and came out at about the time that Darwin's Origin of Species came out, and was the more popular book in England, by the way. And it indicated, and it tried to explain why the British people were so wonderful at that point in history. I mean, if you looked at the world in the 1830s, the British were a pretty successful people. They had areas entirely encompassing the globe that they had controlled, and they thought themselves a pretty magnificent group of people. And there's some among them that wanted to have a biblical explanation of how wonderful they were. And they fashioned onto the idea that wherever in the Bible you found the word Israelites, what you
Go get the dude that idolized. Never mind.
were essentially talking about were the British people. And that this helped explain to the British people why they were so wonderful. As their international success declined through World War I and again in World War II, it became a less popular aspect of the religious beliefs of the British people and was swiftly imported to the United States. And it has taken on this idea of Christian identity, but it really hasn't changed any. And what it essentially says is that wherever you read the word Israelite in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, wherever you would find it, that you're to supplant the words white people, and that gives some political enlightenment and some religious enlightenment and a new and fresh, according to their beliefs, interpretation of the Bible. How that use has been put in the United States is a particularly negative one. And again, there's a huge amount of national suffering is caused by this weird and bizarre interpretation of biblical passages. It has also come to us in a different fashion, and it's interesting, and I'll just conclude it very shortly. The Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s was at the heights of its influence, and many Protestant churches and many Protestant ministers subscribed to the Klan beliefs until it became apparent to everybody how violent and vicious the Klan was, and there was a drawing away from the Klan of the religious stalwarts in the various communities where they were popular, and particularly the Protestant ministers. And the lesson that was learned there was that, from the Klan's point of view, is that you cannot afford politically to have a religion withdraw from you. So rather than have that happen, what essentially is that they've created their own religion, and it is a racist religion. And so if you create your own religion, your religious leaders will never abandon you because you are your own religious leaders. And so we kind of have it from 2 points of view, how this Christian identity movement has come to us in the 1990s.
Let me follow up just a little bit about some of the history of the Christian identity movement, and then maybe we can move to the religious theme. Norm, you say that the Klan was central to the spread of the Christian identity movement in this country. Is that correct?
No, what I'm trying to say is that the Protestant religious leaders were central to the spread of the Klan in the 20s, in the 1920s in America. And as they withdrew their support, the Klan atrophied. And the historical lesson to racists was create your own religion, because these Protestants are going to leave you when you start killing people. And that's a very awkward situation to have. And the Klan, religion was very important to the Klan of the 20s, very important. And it was a great and grievous blow to them when the Protestant ministry started withdrawing from the active Klan participation.
In its present form, in the Northwest and in the country today, about how many members does the Christian identity movement claim?
Well, there are many little tiny isolated Christian identity churches throughout America, and many are not this particular vicious group that we have here locally, and they're just, they're like Branch Davidians, essentially harmless people that gather to themselves and have whatever quaint beliefs they might enjoy and practice. It is when you take this belief system that is anti-ethical to the religious teachings of mainstream religious entities in the United States and turn that against African Americans and Jews and other minorities, is when it becomes so vicious and it's such a terrible plague on American society.
Might be a very good point for me to shift before I turn the question over to
Tony.
Tony.
Do one thing, if you don't
Certainly.
mind. I think with our viewers are not aware of this, you might have, Norm, if you would, just take it one step further so that the ministers and priests can respond. That is, when you say it is racist, now, what do they say about the non-whites, such as
Well,
the
the-
African Americans, or also the Jewish community?
Yeah.
Where do they
Well,
say they
well,
came
this
from?
is-
That's at the heart of their
Okay.
doctrine.
This is a family show, so I'll
Yes.
I'll gild a little bit here. Essentially, that they regard anybody of color as the mud races. They believe that there's two interpretations of the creation of man in the Bible, and there's one one of those creations talks about man from clay, and they would regard all the colored people in America and elsewhere in the world as part of this mud races. They've evolved essentially from mud. That's their issue. Then the Jews arrived through satanic means, and that Eve bore the child of Satan, and that genetically all Jews are carry the seed of the devil.
So what you're saying is that the Christian identity movement is very anti-Semitic,
Yeah.
and it's racist.
Absolutely.
And there, Steve, if we can from that bridge take
Well,
it to the.
and I was going in a similar direction anyway, but this will give me some point to clarify. I was watching public television not too long ago, and there was an excellent program on about the tribulation, about the apocalypse, and about the second coming of Christ. And there was a slightly different version presented there, Norm, that people of color were to, and I didn't realize that they were talking about the Christian identity movement, but certainly to those racists who claim Christianity is some part of their belief system, that to them they are like the beasts of the field. Is that something that you have also heard, or different entirely?
I'll turn that over to the religious experts here as to the biblical interpretation of that.
And a broader question, and this is probably where I was going to go first, is are there any biblical underpinnings, whatever? Is this just a perversion that has no basis in anything biblical? Or are there some biblical underpinnings that they've twisted to get to this racist perspective?
You hear a lot of quotes, a lot of one-liners, and a lot of very strange interpretations of parts of the Bible. So there are things that they say are biblical based on their interpretation of parts of the Bible. Though to most of the people who study the Bible around the world over these centuries, it would be very antithetical to the biblical message.
I think the dignity of the human person, of course, is rooted in the fact that he's created in the image and likeness of God, he or she,
Yes, so there you have it. Like, I'm not gonna play all the video. The video, I want the video, I can throw it in. Matter of fact, let me throw it in the chat just in case, because I didn't put the videos in the description. So just in case y'all want to go back and check out the second half of the interview, there it is, right in the chat. But yeah, there you have it, man. You see the Christian identity movement is based in white supremacy, deep racism, heavy prejudice, and so on and so forth. It is a offspring of the Ku Klux Klan. You hear the ideologies of this movement: mud people, referring to blacks as mud people, the beast of the field, so on and so forth. So from there, I'm gonna keep it moving because I want to keep this not too long so it can be digestible. We go to William Potter Gale. This is just a wiki article, nothing special. Like I told y'all, this is all surface level. And William Potter Gale is who we were talking about in the previous interview from that article that I was reading, right? So he was a political activist who was involved in several white supremacist groups, including the Christian Identity and Posse Comitatus. And this is why I broke those down for you, because Both of these groups, both of these movements, organizations, or whatever you want to call them, they are attached firmly to William Potter Gale. He was tied to the Aryan Nations as well, the Church of Jesus Christ Christian, and the Sovereign Citizen Movement and the militia movement. But, we've heard that term sovereign citizens many times, right? So he was born on November 20th, 1916, the fourth of 5 children of Charles Gale and Mary Agnes Potter. He was named after his maternal grandmother, William Potter, or grandfather, William Potter. His father raised him as a Jew, but rejected Judaism. Potter's father, Charles, was descended from a long line of religiously devout Jews. Charles Gale arrived in the United States in 1894, fleeing from the anti-Semitic pogroms and the economic instability which were occurring in the Russian Empire, changing his family name from Gabifker, I slaughtered that, to Gale. At the age of 18, Charles Gale lied about his age and place of birth in order to serve in the U.S. Army, but he truthfully listed his ethnicity as Hebrew on his military enlistment papers. Charles abandoned Judaism, married a non-Jewish woman, and raised their children as Christians. Charles Gale's siblings continued to practice Judaism. Army Lieutenant Colonel William Potter Gale served on General Douglas MacArthur's staff during World War II. After leaving the Army, Gale became a minister, but he eventually founded his own church. He also joined the John Birch Society. In 1964, he opened a securities firm in Glendale, California, and ran for GOP primary for the 27th Congressional District without success. So along with associates, hold on 1 second, y'all. 1 second. My bad, y'all. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Got a surprise pop up. Let me play a little bit more of this video. Matter of fact, you can hold on for a second. Okay, what was that? Along with associates, Gale founded the California Rangers in 1960s. The Rangers were registered as a civil defense group, although the Anti-Defamation League has listed them as a paramilitary tax resistance group. Another tax resistance group, right? According to his own account, he was involved in the founding of the Christian Defense League, along with S.J. Captain sometime between 1957 and 1962. Hold on. All right, 1962, having been introduced to Wesley Swift by S.J. Captain in 1956, Gale was involved in Swift's Church of Jesus Christ Christian, along with recognizable Christian identity figures like Bertrand Comparet and Richard Butler, right? Swift ordained Gale as a Christian identity minister in the same year. Michael Birkin refers to Gale as a major identity figure, part of the Parrot, Swift, Gale, how you say that, so on and so forth, right? I really show this to say, hold on. He was also described as the founder of Posse Comitatus movement, right? Which we know that already because we read that in the last article. Gale founded the United States Christian Posse Associates as an offshoot of his ministry of Christ Church. Right, on October the 2nd, 1987, Gale was convicted of tax-related crimes and sent to prison. While his appeal was pending, he died on April 28, 1988. The main thing that I want you to gather from this, because we all know that he was heavily associated with white supremacy organizations, the Christian Identity, the Posse Comitatus, and Aryan Nations. But the sovereign citizen movement, we heard that. We heard people being sovereign citizens, right? But the sovereign citizen movement is a loose grouping of primarily American litigants, tax protesters, activists, financial scheme promoters, and conspiracy theorists who claim to be answerable only to their particular interpretation of common law and not to be a subject to any government statutes or proceedings unless they consent to them. Nuts, right? These people are freaking nuts. The sovereign citizen movement is one of the main contemporary sources of pseudo law. A movement members notably believe that courts and government authorities have no actual jurisdiction over people and that they use certain procedures and loopholes to make one immune from government laws. They also reject most forms of taxation as illegitimate. The movement may appeal to people facing financial or legal difficulties or wishing to resist perceived government oppression and looking for a mechanism that will solve their problems. Most schemes promoted by sovereign citizens involve means to avoid taxes, ignore laws, eliminate debts, and extract money from the government. Many American sovereign citizens claim that the United States federal government is illegitimate and do not recognize U.S. currency. Quit playing, man. Their foreign analogs hold, similar beliefs about the government of their own countries. In the United States, participants of the movement argued that the concept of individual sovereignty and opposed to the idea of federal citizens who they say have unknowingly forfeited their rights by accepting some aspect of federal law. The Freemen on the Land movement and offspring of the sovereign citizen movement with similar doctrines is more commonly found in Commonwealth countries such as Canada and Australia. However, sovereign citizens as such have appeared in various countries. The movement can be traced back to the American far-right groups like the Posse Comitatus and the constitutionalist wing of the militia movement. While the movement was originally associated with white supremacy and anti-Semitism, it now includes varying radical ideologies as well as variety of people, most commonly whites and African Americans. The latter sometimes belong to self-declared Moorish sects. So why the hell would African Americans who identify as Moor take on these racist ideologies or take on these ideologies from racist organizations, rather, and try to use them as their own. What are you getting out of that? Hold on. Sovereign citizens may be affiliated to a group within the movement and follow the teachings of a specific guru. Oh, yeah? Sound familiar? Or act entirely on their own. In 2010, the Southern Poverty Law Center estimated that approximately 100,000 Americans were hardcore sovereign believers, with another 200,000 just starting out by testing sovereign techniques for resisting everything from speeding tickets to drug charges. This nigga's nuts. The majority of the sovereign citizens are not violent, and many will use pseudo-law tactics merely as an attempt to ignore certain rules, to get out of debt, or to avoid such things as paying license fees and traffic tickets. Have you seen this from any quote-unquote Moorish American? Not wanting to get licensed, not wanting to pay traffic tickets, trying to get out of being stopped for traffic violations. Have you seen this? However, the schemes advocated by the movement are illegal and warrant prosecution. Many sovereign citizens have been found guilty of offenses such as tax evasion, hostile possession, forgery, and threat against public officials, bank fraud, or check fraud, as well as various degrees of traffic violations. Two of the most important crackdowns by the U.S. authorities on sovereign citizen organizations have been the 1996 case of Montana Freeman and the 2018 sentencing of Judge Bruce Doucette and his associates. So they ain't got a judge in this shit. Also, because some occasionally get into armed confrontations with law enforcement, the Federal Bureau of Investigation classifies sovereign citizen extremists as domestic terrorists. Terry Nichols, one of the perpetrators of the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, subscribed to various variation of the sovereign citizen ideology. So the bombing in 1995, the Oklahoma City shit, this was fueled by this sovereign citizen movement. The same shit these Moors align themselves with. These free white people, as they call themselves, right? Why would you call yourself free white person? Because you think you're gonna get treated some type of different, in some type of different capacity. This is why they fucking with racist ideological movements. This is why they feel like they gotta be called free white people, right? In surveys conducted in 2014 and 2015, representatives of U.S. law enforcement ranked the risk of terrorism from the sovereign citizen movement higher than the risk of any other group, including Islamic extremists, militias, racists, and neo-Nazis. Excuse me. The New South Wales Police Force in Australia, has also identified sovereign citizens as a potential terrorist threat. So when you aligning yourself as a Black American with the sovereign citizen nation, whether you know it or not, you looked at as a terrorist, bro. You're already following a white supremacist scam. But now you're also an extremist and a terrorist in the eyes of the American government. Right? The sovereign citizen movement comes from the crossroad of the American tax protesters phenomenon on the of the radical racist anti-government movement of the 1960s and 70s, and the pseudo-law which has existed in the United States since the 1950s. The belief of the illegitimacy of the federal income tax gradually expanded to challenge the legitimacy of the government itself. The concepts of a sovereign citizen whose rights are being unfairly denied originated in 1971 with the Posse Comitatus movement as a teaching of the Christian identity minister William Potter Gill. The early form of the movement thus associated with white supremacist and anti-Semitic ideologies. Right, we already know that. In addition to Gill's white nationalist origins, sovereign arguments have been adopted since the 1990s by minority groupings, notably the Moorish sovereigns, most of whom are African Americans. The Moorish sovereigns' beliefs derive in part from the Moorish Science Temple of America, which has condemned this sovereign citizen offshoot. Since the 1990s, the number of African American sovereign citizens has increased substantially. Various groups have appeared, some Islamic in nature, other adhering to New Age philosophies. Sovereign citizen ideas have also been adopted by some groups within the Hawaii sovereignty movement. Sovereign citizen tactics have been used by members of various other fringe political or religious groups such as Black separatists or the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. All right, American pseudo law matured around 1999 to 2000, and at that point it was hosted by the sovereign citizen movement. Notably, the straw man theory was conceived around the time by the originator of the redemption movement, former North Dakota farmer Roger Elvick. During the same period, pseudo-legal arguments of American origin were introduced into Canada and then gradually into other countries. Since the late 2000s, the sovereign citizen movement has gradually expanded in the United States due to the 2007-2008 financial crisis, and more specifically, the mortgage crisis. In Canada, its beliefs overlap with those of local freemen of the land movement. Violent incidents such as the 2010 West Memphis police shooting, the 2014 Bundy standoff, the 2016 Mile refuge occupation, or the 2021 Wakefield standoff have attracted significant media attention in the United States. There's also been an overlap between sovereign citizens and the QAnon movement. A sovereign citizen group known as the Oak Enforcers attracted QAnon and Donald Trump supporters to the movement following 2021 storming of the U.S. Capitol. So let me play. Well, I'll hop out real quick. Let me play this quick video for y'all.
In 2010, 2 police officers were shot and killed by sovereign citizens in Arkansas during a routine traffic stop. In most cases, sovereign citizens tend to be more of a nuisance than a deadly threat. They claim that U.S. law does not apply to them and refuse to pay traffic tickets and taxes. However, a 2014 survey of law enforcement officers found that sovereign citizens were the #1 threat in the U.S., more so than even Islamic extremists or neo-Nazis. So what exactly is a sovereign citizen? Well, the concept is a little difficult to explain, mainly because it doesn't really make any sense. Basically, sovereign citizens believe that through a series of loopholes in common law court decisions, selective readings of the Constitution, and obscure tax codes, that they do not have to follow U.S. law. They tend to argue that because they never agreed to the federal government's authority, they cannot be arrested or charged with a crime. It is difficult to summarize the reasons behind this belief because every sovereign citizen tends to have their own interpretation of common law. Sovereign citizens often renounce their U.S. citizenship, driver's license, marriage license, voter registration, birth certificate, and anything else they see as a contract with the federal government. In nearly all cases, their claims are dismissed as frivolous. Most sovereign citizen organizations charge memberships or sell DVDs promising to explain how to achieve sovereign status. The movement was originally started by a 1960s Christian white supremacist group called Posse Comitatus. One of their core beliefs is that the United States is controlled by a global Jewish conspiracy. In order to distance themselves from supporting this government while still continuing to live within the US, they developed the belief that they are not subject to federal laws. The group is most known for pioneering techniques known as paper terrorism. This includes filing frivolous lawsuits, fake reports of tax evasion on government officials, and similar false documents. This forces their victims to spend time and money responding to these illegitimate claims, which sometimes even leads to bankruptcy. One of the simplest arguments against sovereign citizens is that the Constitution, and by extension the federal government, has express authority over citizens of the United States. This is according to Article 6 of the Constitution, known as the Supremacy Clause. Those who renounce their citizenship must do it in a foreign country and in front of a U.S. diplomat or consular. They cannot simply declare themselves sovereign while continuing to live in the United States. As of 2010, the Southern Poverty Law Center estimated that there were about 100,000 hardcore sovereign citizens. Another 200,000 have attempted sovereign citizen arguments against things like traffic tickets and taxes. Although their beliefs are completely illegitimate and born out of anti-Semitic racism, they are a disruptive and growing force within the United States. Although the fear of Islamic extremists has reached an all-time high in the United States, attacks are actually almost non-existent. Check out this video about what terrorist threats America is actually facing.
Only about 9 American Muslims per year have taken part in terrorist plots in the U.S. In total, 20 incidents resulted in about 50 deaths. A 2012 study showed that in the same time period, right-wing extremists were responsible for about 337 attacks per year.
Thanks for watching TestTube News, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos from us every single day.
Yo, so these sovereign citizens, are you seeing where they get a lot of their, or these Moorish sovereign citizens, rather, Moorish American sovereign citizens, are you seeing where they're getting a lot of their ideology from? The tax refusal, the feeling like law don't apply to them. Also, the Black's Law Dictionary, right? American sovereign legal theories reinterpret the Constitution of the United States through selective reading of law dictionaries, notably an obsolete version of Black's Law Dictionaries, an obsolete version of Black's Law Dictionary, state court opinions or specific capitalization, and incorporate other details from a variety of sources, including the Uniform Commercial Code, the Article of Confederation, the Magna Carta, the Bible, and foreign treaties. Right? We've seen these certain people that we discussing use all these things, right? Especially the Black's Law Dictionary, the Bible, and foreign treaties. They ignored the second clause of Article 5 of the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, which establishes the Constitution as the law of the land and the United States Supreme Court as the ultimate authority to interpret it. Most consider the county sheriff, excuse me, that the county sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement officer in the country, with the authority superior to that of any federal agent, elected official, or local law enforcement official. The movement theories include numerous influences from a variety of sources, some, excuse me, some from decades old, resulting in a narrative of American history that is often confusing and incoherent. Some of the movement believe that the term sovereign citizen is an oxymoron and prefer to label themselves as individuals seeking the truth, or use the denominations such as state national, natural person, natural people, or living people. Pseudo law, you see them incorporating these more sovereigns incorporating this pseudo law into everyday conversations, right? So we see who the master teacher of these more sovereigns are. Your master teacher is William Potter Gale. William Potter Gale. So just for fun, before I close out, I'm gonna play one more for y'all. Just for fun.
Alright, I'm pulled over by North Platte Police. They at my window right now.
You got driver's license, registration, insurance?
Do you understand what's on my property?
Okay.
Do you understand that it's private property?
What's your name, buddy?
You can
Can you roll the window down just far enough?
You can call me Mr.
Or
King.
place your left hand on the steering wheel while you hold your phone.
Sir.
Can you just keep your left hand where I can see it?
Sir, you are depriving me of liberty right now.
938. 1089, please. Okay, do you have driver's license, registration, insurance?
Sir, why would I have that? Why would I need that?
Okay.
Do you understand that this is private property?
Okay.
If you know my name, why you asking me that? Okay, what's your name? Give me your first name.
Mine?
Matter of fact. Damn, my paper in my other car. I just filed the lawsuit 3 days ago, Friday, against the North Platte Police Department for the same thing. This is going to the judge, so I just want you to know that. What's your first name? Toby?
Yeah.
He's in the lawsuit with Kayla Reed, my girlfriend, doing the same thing, depriving me of liberty. I'm just using the road.
Okay, I'm in that lawsuit.
I'm using the road, going from point A to point B. He's putting motor vehicle codes on me and my property. They don't apply. Private property.
Are you gonna engage with me in this conversation?
I have no reason to talk to you. You are depriving me of liberty. You are depriving me of rights. I'm going to file a lawsuit as soon as I leave tomorrow. All right, I'm listening. Go ahead. The camera is too.
I do need.
Did you read my notice right there?
I do need. No.
Sir, I do not drive. He's not interested in my notice. Give it to me.
Interested in your driver's license, your registration, and insurance.
So listen, okay, just listen. What is you gonna do? Like, I'm gonna file a lawsuit. I'm never getting drive. Listen, I'm never getting driver's license. I'm never getting registration. I'm never getting insurance.
Well, funny, last time I checked, this car was registered.
Ain't none of my cars registered. Look at my YouTube channel, Police the Police, North Platte NE. Look at my YouTube channel. All right, keep talking. My car is not registered. So what's wrong with you? It's an automobile. It's not a motor vehicle. It's mine. It's private property. And you are trespassing. He's trespassing. Toby Smith is trespassing. What's up? Can I get my notice back? My card right there, my statement. That's my statement that you ignoring, that you don't read. Do you know what a motor vehicle is? Are you under the color of law? He don't even know what a motor vehicle is. He worked for the police. He got a gun. I'm doing everything under duress. Under the Constitution, I'm not complying with this guy. You know my name. You know my name. You a clown. You know my address.
I don't know your address. I don't know why I would know your address.
Bro, y'all ride past my house every day.
How do you spell Devontae? Okay, this can go easy or it can go.
I'm trying to get
Not
a piece
so
of
easy.
paper. Devonte. It could go easy or not. I will see you in court. I'm not scared of you, bro. I'm finna ride around all day, every day, take my liberty away. That's just gonna be another lawsuit. Bro, listen, I'm taking y'all to court every time. Every time. Do you know what a motor vehicle is? No. Let me talk. All right, go ahead. Talk. Go ahead.
You understand why we have to have registrations and such?
Listen, that is a motor vehicle code for commercial purposes.
No.
This is private property. I own it. I paid for it. Did you pay for it? No. Did the police department pay for it? No. Did the state of Nebraska pay for it? No. You are a clown, dude.
You gonna call me names or you gonna let me talk?
Because you are depriving me of liberty right now. You are depriving me of rights right now.
Without paying those taxes.
I do not have to pay any taxes on my property.
Right,
it's my property.
What's your date of birth, Devontae?
You trying to coerce me and conspire to make me pay taxes on my property. I will see you in federal court. Don't you, bro? Tomorrow, listen. I swear to God, tomorrow I'm going to the federal court for Toby Smith.
Okay.
100%. I'm uploading my YouTube video tomorrow with this car at the federal court. You a clown. Don't. Y'all already watch it. They already called the police.
No, what's your YouTube?
I just said it, bro. Police the police, North Platte, NE. Okay? It's simple, bro.
Okay.
What else do you want?
You care if I subscribe?
I don't care, bro. It's for the courts. It's for people to understand.
But Supreme Court's upheld.
Bro, this is private property. It's not a motor vehicle. You are trying to coerce me to make my car a motor vehicle. No, it's not.
It is a motor vehicle based on the
bro.
state statute definition.
All right, okay. Deprive me of rights then. What you want to do? What?
Well, you're gonna get a citation. Please don't read that.
I'm looking for my keys. I'm just bro. Come on, man. Why? What, bro? I'm going to the federal court tomorrow. Why would I need to hurt you, harm you, or anything? You is depriving me of liberty. You shouldn't stop me. Why is you stopping me? Talking about a motor vehicle. You see it's no trespassing. You see it's no trespassing on the back. I do not have to have a driver's license, bro. What is wrong with you? You crazy, bro. I'm gonna listen forever. Every day, y'all gonna see me. Every day, I got two cars. I got a white Toyota Corolla, and I got this Corolla. Y'all gonna see me every day. I'm gonna file a lawsuit every day. Every day. Y'all depriving me of liberty. I don't want to hear a motor vehicle code.
I got one thing to say real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, you're just gonna keep getting citations. Now I'm gonna
keep
go
giving them to me.
Citation right now.
Keep giving them to me.
Are you gonna sign it?
Of course.
Okay. Let me go get that.
Hey, listen. Under duress, I'm gonna sign it. You have a gun. You have ammo. Like, come on. I gotta sign it, bro. You got handcuffs. I gotta sign it. This is for the courts. This is going on my YouTube channel. I'm only signing it because he's forcing me to sign it. No one else can pull me over and threaten me and
with that citation, okay?
force me to sign a citation. Private property. No trespassing. He's trespassing. All of them are trespassing. Fuck is wrong? Every day I'm gonna drive my car, operate my car. Bro, it's coercion, bro. I'm not worried, bro. I'm not none of that, bro. Tell him, bro. Y'all depriving me of liberty. Y'all depriving me of rights, bro. Do not be scared. Do not let them take your rights away. You do not understand.
I need to get the VIN off of this.
You do not need to. If you illegally search my car, go ahead. Listen, I do not consent. Let me say something on the camera. Okay. Go ahead.
I can get the VIN, and I will get the VIN. Okay. You'll either have to move your sign off the VIN up there, or I'll have to get it out of the door.
Listen, I do not consent. And
this is a topic for conversation. I'm getting that VIN.
I'm not.
Can I get it in the door,
I'm not.
or can I get it there?
I'm not conversating, bro. I gotta say something for the camera. Okay. I do not consent against the Fourth Amendment.
Obstruction. Okay.
Listen, I'm not. How am I obstructing?
So I can get the VIN number.
I'm obstructing because he want me to open my door against my will. Go ahead. Okay. He just opened my door against my will. He's searching my car. Todd Smith. Oh, Sarah Jones right there. Yes. Toby Smith and Sarah Jones depriving me of rights right now. I will be at the federal courthouse tomorrow. You a clown. You don't even know what a motor vehicle is. Both of y'all. That's what a motor vehicle is. What y'all doing? Extorting people for money. Fuck is wrong with you, clown? Y'all some clowns. No, it's not registered. It will never be registered. Fuck wrong with you? Still here, bro. I'm not, bro. This is theft. Don't be scared. I'm not scared of them, bro. They clowns. I'm going to the federal courthouse tomorrow. I'm finna sue the city because they got people like them working for them, trying to make my car a motor vehicle. It ain't gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. Y'all clowns, bro. But I don't even think I want to put this on my YouTube channel because I kept calling them clowns. I just don't want to be the bad guy, you know. I don't want to be. I'm that guy that's just fighting for rights. That's it. I don't want to be known as none of that. None of that. You feel me? He searched my car unlawfully. Time I just register. You a clown. You don't even, bro. You was a clown. Threatened to lock me up because I wouldn't open my door. All under duress. This is the North Platte Police. This is what they do when you in private property and they can't extort you. You can't extort me. You cannot extort me, bro. It's not happening. You're gonna keep getting citations, bro. Yeah, okay. I gotta go put some air in my tire. Damn, I had an appointment, you feel me? Somewhere. Now I'm finna be late. Oh man, I gotta send some text. Hold on. Trying to go home. You know, I got kids at home. I did. Who's the same officer who just pulled me
Keep
over?
your hands up, okay? All right, I told you not to drive and you drove off, right?
I don't drive, sir. I'm being deprived of filing lawsuits. He's claiming I'm driving, no proof. Go ahead. What do you want to do now?
Now, do you have a driver's license in any state?
Sir, I do not.
Simple yes or no.
Sir, I do not drive. I'm not a commercial driver.
You have no driver's license?
I do not drive, sir. I'm in my property that I pay for. I do not drive.
Okay.
Can you give me a chance to fight my case in court? Can you give me a chance to file my court case tomorrow? I do not, sir. If it was a motor vehicle, it would be registered with the state. I do not drive.
By definition, it is a motor vehicle.
Bro. I do not drive, sir. I'm going to repeat that over and over. You are depriving me of rights. You are depriving me of liberty. I'm trying to go file my lawsuit. I'm trying to fight my case in court. I'm trying to go home. I have the right to use the roads under life or liberty. I just came from handling business. So now he's saying I can't use the road to go handle business. I can't do anything. You see this judge? Todd, what's your name? Toby Smith. Okay, I got it on video, the last video. I'm filing my lawsuit. I can't use the roads to go handle business. That's what this officer is saying. The North Platte Police Department. I can't go home. He already extorted me with a ticket. Okay.
How did I extort you?
This is extortion, sir. I do not drive. I do not drive. This is not a motor vehicle. I don't know what your definition of motor vehicle is, but I do not drive. So.
Well, this meets my definition.
It meets his definition, so that's fine.
My definition, but the definition
of the
state of Nebraska.
Okay, so he's claiming I'm driving. I'm in my property.
Step out of the vehicle for me.
All right, just 1 second. Let me take my girlfriend. This video is for the judge, federal judge. The same officer who deprived me of rights is sitting outside my house. Sitting outside my house. Number 2. Just deprived me of rights to use the road. said, I just got out the county jail. My bond was $250, no operator's license, and no proof of insurance. Okay? But man, as I tell y'all all the time, man, it's a scare tactic. I'm not getting licensed. I'm not getting registration. I'm not getting insurance. Listen, the police is down there, bro. Y'all can see him all the way in the distance. The same one who arrested me all the way down there, sitting at the store, right in front of that yellow truck down there. I just rode past him twice, bro. Listen, I'm not getting my car registered. When I go to court, I'm not even gonna tell y'all, because like, y'all know what to say. Y'all know what to do. It's just a scare tactic. I'm finna file another lawsuit. I just filed the lawsuit Friday. I'm finna file another lawsuit tomorrow. I'm taking this car right here tomorrow to Lincoln, Nebraska, to file my lawsuit. I promise y'all I'll never get my car registered. I promise y'all that don't scare me. $250, that's it? I mean, if you gonna extort me for more than that. But bro, other kind use, you feel me? If you're gonna extort me for $250, extort me more than that. Everything good, man. I'm going to file my lawsuit tomorrow. I don't know what to say to y'all. Just don't give up. Do not let them scare y'all, man. If y'all let them scare y'all, it's over with. It's over with. Everything that y'all claim is done. Y'all understand everything. Look how I signed this shit.
Yo. So you see how crazy these nuts sound, man. He wasn't driving a motor vehicle or automobile. He got no trespassing signs for a tag on his car. He feels like he's being deprived of his right to use the road because he don't have license or registration. It's crazy, bro. Yeah, he Lincoln, Nebraska too. Hey, so I'm gonna end it like Mook, my guy Murder Mook. Let this conclude. These Moorish sovereign dudes are crazy. They practice pseudo law. They get their ideologies from racist white supremacist groups. But man, that shit is incredible, but that's what that nose medicine does. If Rick James and Dave Chappelle was professing the they'll be telling them what? That cocaine is a hell of a drug. Y'all nuts. Y'all nuts. I'm out, man. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day.
I realize this. Side I'm from where them hammers rung. In Atlanta slums, pop a nigga, sit and wait for the ambulance to come. I know if you a shooter, by the way you're handling the gun. Gambling, you're done. Shells burn like candles in the sun. I'm not a fan of gun violence, nor having a strap, but get popped once, and I swear that you'll be scrambling for one. But our plans was to get funds and skate off the set, so I mixed the kush with the dro to make all my weight stretch. I'm from with a dudes rob and argue all day about who's the best MC. Saha stacks and T.I. while dodging the GBI. My bad, I love GZI, but I'm still the best to ever do it, and I ain't even put a CD out. So the next time you say that I ain't got no lyricist, I just think you ain't got a taste for this exquisite shit. My verses are like Leviticus to the underprivileged. I make music for the world, you make music for a stripper bitch. Nick Black leather, beret cap era, guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Never been a victim, a rebel against the system. Lames wanna diss them and women just wanna kiss them. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Jesus to the cross for. And he came back 3 days after he died flow. This Pablo, talking to kids in Chicago, mob flow. This that midget New Jersey drive flow. Side note, I wrote this rap with my eyes closed, bravo. Cause it came out clean as the Moss flow, Costco. Hoes selling they twat for a condo. Benny Hunters and Roscoe, Picasso. Nas mixed with a pop flow. Rappers can't stand me. This that Grammy Nas flow. Let me stop though, cause I'm going digital with the syllables. Saw how the press and the royalty like residual. These hoes for me, they supposed to be hospitable. When they in the house with a nigga that's not typical, this not fictional. I run this bitch like elliptical. Can another rapper come out of Atlanta if he not lyrical? Nigga, black leather, beret cap era. Guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Never been a victim, a rebel against the system. Lames wanna diss him and women just wanna kiss him. It's Huey, nigga. Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga.
This that shot right, where out of towners die at. I advise you book your flight now and fly back. Gangland, bang then, what you claim, fam? Box Chevys, foreigns, buck 50 flow. Young nigga got bitches at the 50 though. 50 pack done, good, drop off 50 more. My city rough, but I made it in it. Trap house look like it's what K's invented. Trust nobody, even friends, look, I hate up in it. Riding dirty with your bitch, smoking, wait a minute. LA garage with Illinois and Decatur in it. Nigga snitching, unlike way to win it. Nigga looking like a state defendant. Photo look like a two-door. My two-door look like a full-door. I'm cutting up, call me Zorro. Hit him in his mask, get him a body bag. Give me a track, get him a body that.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Get help.